Tonight, as you're listening to Andrew, and you're listening to Joshua, and you're listening to Deepak, we invite you to let that sense of the divine listen in, to invite it to ask whatever question you might have internally and see what you get. There'll probably be something magical.
So I'd like to start this story time with the way I start every story time, and that is breathing. 4 simple breaths. So come along with me. You don't need to change anything. Breathing in, I breathe for me. Breathing in, I breathe for you. I breathe for us. I breathe for all that surrounds us. So who gets the most out of story time? Is it the kids or the parents? I was doing story time at Little Lyceum Montessori School in Denver, Colorado. Picture 15 adults gathered in a children's classroom sitting on the world's smallest chairs. And a bunch of kids gathered around in front. And I'm reading from one of my conscious bedtime stories called The Boy Who Searched for Silence. In this story, the boy struggles with the noises of everyday life. And he's heard that silence is golden, peaceful, and blissful. So he thinks he'll go and look for it. More than that, he's heard that in silence, he can be himself. And this is really what he's after. So he starts his quest. All the way down to the bottom of the garden. But the neighbor's dog is barking. So he walks to the park, but the frisbee players are laughing. So he walks to the forest, but the dog walkers are talking. And it's at this point in the story that the hand of a 4-year-old goes up in front of me like this. She says, "It's inside him! It's inside him!" Now something's clearly going right in this moment, in her life and in her school. When I started my personal exploration 10 or 12 years ago, I wasn't completely broken, but I had left a 4th-generation family business, and I didn't know who I was without that. And over the 10 or 12 years that I've done my own inquiry, I've noticed that whether I'm taking a new pill or attending a new class or whether I've signed up for some training, I'm really only trying to deal with 2 issues. Firstly, I notice that I don't feel safe. Not to be myself, not like fully be myself. And secondly, I notice that I so often feel separate. And a terrible ache comes up in me when I feel like I don't belong. And as I've watched clients come through my healing practice, or as I've stepped back and taken a view on this multi-million-dollar well-being industry, I've come to think that those are the 2 things that we're all trying to solve in our own way. So how do we solve it? Where is that solution? What if we took all the brains, the best thinkers in the well-being industry, put them all in a room? Not just any room though, right? We're going to need a special room, perhaps that one at the Vatican that the white smoke comes out of. Let's put all of our friends there, Deepak, Byron, Eckhart, Marianne. We'll call circle, we'll invoke the great sages, anyone who's ever lived, and we'll set them the single task. Who has the solution so that humans feel like they can be themselves, we can be ourselves, and that we know that we belong? Sprinkle in some Dalai Lama dust, close the door, click. Can you feel the suspense? Right? As we wait outside, waiting for that puff of white smoke so that we know that there's a solution to this broad human problem. But then, without even the smoke coming out, the door begins to open. And a voice calls out, "We give up." What's the answer, Andrew? It's children. Right? I mean, who's doing the best job on this planet of being themselves? Children. And doesn't it make sense that we go and have a look for the solution where the problem least exists? Children. So I was hanging out a week ago with Totem. Totem's a fiery young redhead 3-year-old who loves broccoli. And Totem's decided that he's going to help me make a video on the future of well-being. So there I am, yoga mat spread on the grass, facing the camera. Serious voice, right? This is important. We're talking about the future of well-being. And Totem is sitting next to me, quietly eating grass. And then when it gets to the really big moment, like that super serious one where I'm going to talk about these 2 huge pains of humanity and I need to find the solution and I've got the most grown-up voice on that I can possibly find, Totem's like, can we just not talk about this anymore? He's 3 years old. 3 years old. And Dr. Shafali Sabari, who's the author of The Conscious Parent, she says, follow your children's lead, for they will take you into the present moment like nobody else can. And there's Totem being himself, and he has cut through my pain body, the collective pain body of humanity that I'm holding, and he's thrust us into spontaneity, laughter, and happiness. This is the power of children. Can you begin to imagine just one generation of children who grow up feeling that they are safe to be themselves and that they belong? They will fundamentally change the very definition of well-being. So I invite you to consider that the perfect medicine for you might be right next to you, interrupting whilst you make dinner or read a bedtime story. As mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts and uncles, it is our responsibility, it's our job to nurture the children in full conscious awareness of their wisdom. It's our job to nurture the children in full conscious awareness of their wisdom. That helps us to shine. Thank you.